This is what we call the adrenal protocol. In the following presentation, you're going to learn about the lab instructions for an adrenal adenoma workup. So what exactly is an adrenal adenoma anyways? Well, let's start off with the adrenal gland. Everybody has two triangle-shaped glands, one sitting on top of each kidney. And every gland has two parts, the medulla, which is this red innermost layer, and the cortex, which has three layers. To start off with the medulla, this produces epinephrine and norepinephrine. Another familiar name for epinephrine is adrenaline. The next layer produces androgens, which are sex hormones like testosterone. The next layer produces cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And lastly, the outermost layer produces aldosterone, which helps regulate blood pressure and electrolytes. So what is an adenoma? Well, technically it's a cell overgrowth or a tumor, but don't be alarmed, the vast majority of these are benign, meaning non-cancerous. We can classify these adenomas into two categories, functional and non-functional. Functional means it can produce extra hormones. Non-functional means it doesn't produce any hormones. So how do we find out if it's functional? Well, we can answer this question with 3 days worth of labs. It's important to know that location equals function. So, depending on which layer the adenoma is located will determine which hormone it will produce. For example, this adenoma is located in the medulla, so that means it can produce extra epinephrine or norepinephrine. This adenoma is located in the second layer of the cortex, so that means it can produce excess cortisol. The 3 days worth of labs do not have to be completed back to back. And don't worry, you will get written instructions about all of this as well. So let's start. Day 1 is just going to be a basic lab draw. You do not have to be fasting, but the labs do have to be drawn between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. I have listed all of the labs here that will be drawn on day 1. They are color coordinated to which layer they will be testing. So the blue is the outermost layer for aldosterone and renin. Cortisol is related to ACTH, and androgens or testosterone is related to the DHEA. The lab should know this, but the aldosterone lab should be done in an upright position. When you go to get your lab drawn between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., make sure you bring the paper labeled number 1 to the lab with you. This is how the lab will know what labs to draw. And this must be done before step 3. Once you are done with day 1 labs, make sure you ask the lab for urine collection samples or supplies for step 2. We will go into detail on this on the next slide. Day 2 is a 24-hour urine collection. I have also listed the tests, again, color coordinated to which layer of hormones we are testing. The supplies needed that you will ask the lab on day 1 will be a collection container, which should be a big brown jug, and a urine hat. Important details for this 24-hour urine collection is that it's best to complete it on a day where you can stay home all day to collect. You must keep the collection container cool, so you can put it in the refrigerator or on an ice chest, whichever is best for you. So how you do this 24-hour urine collection is you're going to empty your bladder when you first wake up in the morning and discard this sample. Make sure to note the time when you do this. Then you're going to collect urine around the clock for 24 hours. The last collection will be the next morning at the same time that you first empty your bladder the morning before. You will then drop off urine at the lab with the paper labeled number 2. Again, this is how the lab knows what tests to run on your urine. Now, on to day 3. This is what we call the dexamethasone suppression test. Please, please, please ensure that you have taken your day 2 urine collection to the lab before starting day 3. This is very important because we don't want the medicine in the urine for day 2. Here are the labs that we will be testing with this dexamethasone suppression test. Here's how you do day 3. You're going to pick up a prescription at your pharmacy, and it's going to be 2 small tablets of dexamethasone. You're going to take these 2 tablets at 11 p.m., and the next morning, have your blood drawn at 8 a.m. the next morning. Again, make sure to bring the paper label number 3 to the lab. The results of all of these tests will be discussed in your 4-week follow-up appointment with Dr. Mirza. Thank you so much for listening, and please call the office for further questions.